My feeling is that Joe Biden is highly compromised. Why else would we cancel the China initiative, the DOJ program designed to investigate China's theft of our intellectual property from colleges and universities? It made no sense whatsoever. There's only one explanation. Joe Biden is compromised.
Well, that was Senator Ron Johnson on this program last week on the impact of Biden family influence peddling, which reportedly goes back many decades, by the way. My next guests announced on Thursday that the House will pick up where the Senate left off in looking at the 150 suspicious activity reports flagged by the major banks of the Biden family bank accounts after years of making millions by offering foreigners access to their family and inroads into acquisitions in America. Joining me right now is the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, and the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan. Both are expected to assume the role of the chairman of those respective committees. Good morning to you both, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here.
Morning.
Good morning.
James Comer, let me kick this off with you and get your take on this 150 suspicious activity reports. Most people will never get a suspicious activity report, right? What is it, and how come they were flagged by the banks?
99.99% of Americans will never get a suspicious activity report. These were created after September 11th for the government to be able to track suspicious foreign transactions coming in to fund terror sales. It's expanded over time to help law enforcement track things like money laundering. But when a bank files a suspicious activity report, that's the bank notifying the federal government that we're pretty certain our client has committed a crime. Hunter Biden and Jim Biden have at least 150 of these. We believe Joe Biden's name was on some of those accounts. That's why we want them. But the suspicious activity reports are very detailed as to why the banks suspected that criminal activity was taking place by the Bidens.
Well, look, I've said it from day one. This is not a Hunter Biden story. This is a Joe Biden story because they were basically selling access to Joe Biden. We know we have all the emails, the big guy email where Joe Biden was supposed to be holding 10% equity into CEFC, the Chinese energy company. How are we supposed to trust that the commander-in-chief of America is going to make the right decisions on behalf of America when he's taking in all of this money? Hunter Biden's been paying his bills. That also is indicative that he was clearly the one that they were selling.
Right. That's very troubling. What we showed at the press conference was a map of the United States in Chinese where all the natural gas distributors were highlighted. And the business model that Hunter Biden was presenting to the Chinese was a way for China to come in and not only buy liquefied natural gas from America, but also to start buying ownership in the drillers so that China could start taking ownership in our American energy company. And remember, we also showed emails and text messages that showed Joe Biden was going to be a 10% equity owner in this business. He was even going to have office space in this business. This is very troubling at a time when America is faced with record high energy prices because of bad policies from this administration.
Well, we want to know what you all are going to do about it because, Jim Jordan, what did we hear on Friday from Merrick Garland, the Attorney General? The DOJ lead person puts a special counsel on the Trump investigations. Yeah. Where is the special counsel on the Biden family influence peddling?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just one more example of how political the Justice Department has become, and it's why 14 whistleblowers have come and told us that, 14 FBI agents. But I want to go back. I want to go back to May of 2013. The Inspector General at the Treasury Department issues a report and says Obama's IRS targeted conservatives. In our investigation at that time, we discovered that the Department of Justice was trying to find ways to prosecute the very people who Obama's IRS targeted. And Maria, guess who? Guess who was the lead person at the Justice Department looking for ways to target and prosecute the very people Lois Lerner went after? Jack Smith, the guy Merrick Garland just named as special counsel to go after President Trump. Now, think about this in the broad sense. In 2016, they spied on President Trump's campaign. In 2018, it was the Mueller investigation. In 2020, they suppressed the Hunter Biden story just days before the most important election we have. And in 2022, 91 days before the midterm election, they raided President Trump's home. And then this week, 3 days after President Trump announces he's running for president, 1 day after Mr. Comer did his press conference, guess what? Merrick Garland says we're going to put in as the special counsel the very individual who was at the Justice Department and was looking for ways to prosecute the people Lois Lerner and Obama's IRS targeted. If that's not a political Justice Department, I don't know what is. So this is why we're going to look into this issue, and we're going to get to the bottom of everything they've been doing at the politicized DOJ.
Well, you all will have the gavel. James Comer, how do they keep getting away with all of this politicizing? Are you going to subpoena Joe Biden? Are you going to subpoena all of those involved in allowing China and the Communist Party to get inside the gates of America by paying off certain individuals like the Biden family?
We're going to subpoena whoever the investigation leads us to subpoena. We're serious about this. We're going to start with the bank records. We need those bank records. You've seen countless emails and text messages where Hunter has complained about having to keep his father up. There's no question that Joe Biden was receiving benefit from Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden's only source of income were our adversaries in China and Russia. So this is very concerning. The American people deserve answers. We deserve to know if we have a White House that's compromised by China, and that's going to be our priority in the House Oversight Committee.
Well, talk to us about these transactions, because, you know, they've tried to leak to the press that Hunter Biden is going to be charged with tax issues. Is it because he wasn't paying taxes on all of the money that Chinese officials and Ukrainian officials and Russian officials were wiring into his account?
Right. Yeah, he has at least a $2 million tax bill with the IRS. I don't know how many people you know that owe the IRS over $2 million, but Hunter Biden is one of them. But honestly, Maria, the tax evasion is the least of Hunter Biden's problems. And my fear is if the DOJ indicts Hunter Biden, then that will essentially protect him from a congressional subpoena from the House Oversight Committee. So I'm not advocating for Hunter Biden to be indicted. I'm not advocating for a special counsel, because I believe that if the Treasury Cabinet and if the banks will work with us, we'll be able to get answers to the most important questions on the House Oversight.
Jim Jordan, how did this happen? How did the DOJ and the FBI become so politicized? We know what they did around the Russia collusion story. They had no evidence of any collusion with Trump, and yet they pursued FISA warrants to spy and surveil people within the Trump world aggressively.
I don't know how it happened, but I know it has to change, because America is the greatest country in history, but we're not America. America is not America if you have a Justice Department that treats people differently under the law. It's not supposed to work that way, and it's why 14 agents have come talk to us as whistleblowers, and what they have said is at the highest levels, not the rank and file, but at the Washington field office of the FBI, at the highest levels of the Justice Department, that's where the politics is. One of these agents said it's rotted at its core. That's how bad it is. So, look, remember this, too. If you need any more, go back to Mr. Smith again. Jack Smith, there was, back in 2013, his section that he ran at the Justice Department not only was looking for ways to prosecute the very people who were targeted by Obama's IRS, they also asked the IRS to give them confidential taxpayer information, and the IRS complied. Think about that. Wow. You had the Justice Department saying, we want information we're not supposed to get, give it to us, and the IRS gave it to them. So this is, it seems to me, a pattern. It has to change, because if it doesn't, we don't have this great thing that we call America, where people are treated equally under our law.
Well, James Comer and Jim Jordan, please come back as soon as possible. We're going to continue following this. You are doing very important work. Thank you, gentlemen.